friends, to another edition of Tiffin Box TV. I'm your host, Seishu, and I'm speaking with Scott Robert Lim, a wedding photographer, a business coach, and a mentor for many people around the world. And you may have seen him actually on Creative Live, and his courses are extremely popular. He's been on Creative Live 3 times now, and one of his topics is the secrets to booking the $10,000 wedding. Now, I think everyone's interested in doing that. I'm sure, right, Scott?
Yeah.
So welcome to the show, man. I appreciate making the time for this little chat about your upcoming webinar on Shoot.Edit, which I think is going to be amazing. It's on March 25th at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So figure it out, guys. If you live on the East Coast, you know what the time is. This is amazing. This is a very catchy title for a topic I think that's on everybody's minds. Everybody wants to make a living in photography, and you have literally spent years figuring it out, and you're helping photographers making it happen. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the topic. Let's talk about a little bit about your background too.
Yeah, I started shooting weddings about 15 years ago, and I've seen it transform. And one of my goals getting into being a wedding photographer was I wanted to see how much money you could really make. And, I saw dudes making, 20,000, 50,000 a wedding. And I'm like, okay, well, I think 10,000 is totally possible, even though it sounds kind of preposterous right now. But I did make that climb, and I put some things together with all of my experience, mostly failures. I didn't have a mentor at all. I'm not a second generation photographer. I had to learn this all by myself. I started in the 2000s when there was dial-up internet, so there was no YouTube streaming or no Creative Live, or you get a magazine and you look at it and you're trying to figure out how to do it, and then you go out and do it, and that's how we had to learn back then.
Sure.
But I'm glad I had to go through that. I'm glad I had to learn how to shoot manually, focus, manually setting your camera, all that stuff, because I kind of learned photography inside out. And I kind of, and going through this process and mentoring photographers from all over the world, I kind of put together these keys, and these certain, attributes these photographers had that really made them successful, and kind of looking at my own life too, and self-examining that. And so my greatest challenge was I recently spoke at WPPI, and that's a 90-minute lecture. And my topic was, think like a 10K wedding photographer. And so I had a 3-day workshop on Creative Live. So my whole goal was, how can I take the essence of those 3 days and put it down into 90 minutes, but also make it very, tangible for a photographer to understand. So I think I'm the first one to put together a formula.
Sure.
Going, you kind of grade yourself on 4 categories, and you add up your numbers, right? And then it'll give you a kind of a grade to see your potential and where you're at. Now, what's great about this is I don't think it applies just to wedding photography. I think it applies to, anything in business, really. And so that was my challenge, and I think I kind of put something. Of course, it's a work in process, but I'm so excited to share it, and especially kind of going into it on the 25th too.
Excellent. What are those 4 categories? You don't have to give away the entire webinar, of course.
I think a lot of. Well, I'll start off with this example.
Sure.
And okay, some people might not like this, but I'm just going to say it anyways. Okay, there's the iPhone.
Sure.
And then there's the competitor? The Samsung Galaxy, whatever. What number are the Galaxy on? 6,
I have
7,
idea.
whatever.
I'm an iPhone guy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, me too. Okay. So, listen, I was in New York when they released the iPhone 6. Okay. Made the news. It was huge, right? People were literally in New York. You're on the West Coast. You probably saw the things. They were standing 10 blocks waiting in line to get into that, to buy that phone.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Samsung gonna release their new iPhone, whatever, 7, 8, 6, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be about 4 people in line. So I'm gonna get killed now. Getting that phone. Okay, but let's be honest.
Sure.
They are very compatible. right? Is like one screen sharper than the other? Don't they basically do the same things? They're both very high quality phones.
Sure. Yeah.
One costs a lot more, but one has a tremendous amount of rave. But they are the same product in essence. What makes that iPhone go, man? That's the key.
Yeah.
So understanding that, unpacking why there's going to be like people waiting 10 blocks for one and no people waiting for the other one when it's the same product, you need to understand that.
Right.
And
Is the differentiator then the photographer herself or himself? Is that
what's that?
Is the differentiator the photographer himself or herself?
Is the difference maker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely. I mean, it's your imagery. You know, it's kind of the way. I'll unpack it later in the show, but it's the way you present yourself. It's your perceived brand, and how you kind of develop that luxury brand. See, the iPhone is really considered a luxury brand, and that's where you need to position yourself. Is becoming a luxury brand. And now people will pay 2 times, 4 times, 10 times market price. And understanding that process and what it takes to be that, sometimes we have to ask ourselves some very hard questions about who we are. Because actually, in reality, the market never lies. The market tells you really what you're worth. So if you can't get, $1,000 for a wedding, don't blame anybody else. But we got to look at ourselves and say, hey, I'm only making 1,000, and this dude's over here making 7,000, 8,000. Right. And sometimes, we get these kind of false reads. We post these photos on Facebook, and our mom likes it, and we're like, oh man, I'm good, But that's why sometimes you need to kind of a mentor or somebody to kind of see from the outside your business and kind of evaluate it and go forward. But I'm gonna go over very specifically how you can gauge yourself. Your imagery. How do you know that's got wow potential and all that kind of other stuff?
Excellent. So the webinar is it going to be 90 minutes long? Is that what the plan is?
You know what? I have no idea. If it's 10 hours, I could keep talking for 10 hours. I don't know.
Well, it's
what is it? Only a half an hour? What is it?
I think it starts at 10 o'clock. There is no end time listed. So.
Jared might keep me on there till whatever. I don't care. I'll keep talking. I love it.
But thank you so much for what you do, Scott. I know you're extremely passionate about teaching people, and I've watched you on Creative Live. I've really enjoyed the way you engage with your in-house students and even the audience on the interwebs. You're just sort of like totally like the guy to go to just be a part. You're part of the the party in a way, and you really just you want everyone to be included, which is kind of an interesting approach, really. A lot of people have this, I'm the teacher, you're the photographer that is learning from me kind of thing, but you bring it all to a level playing field. There is a question that I have about the photography industry itself. I know you are extremely well known also for being innovative with flashes and using flashes, small flashes. And while this has nothing to do with the secrets to booking the $10,000 wedding, I have to ask you this. Do you sense from your experience being a photographer for the last 15, 20 years or longer, that a photographer these days needs to have something other than photography to make a living?
Not really. I mean, let's put it this way. Your house is burning down. What are you going to save first? Well, you're going to save your pets. Then you're going to save maybe some of your kids. And then you're going to save what? The hard drive. But an EMP is going to wash out all our pictures anyway. But anyways, the photo albums, So if photography is that valued, like, maybe the top 3 things that we value in life, all of life, if you become one of the best in the world at creating pictures, you can write your own ticket anywhere. And there's tons of photographers out there making great money just with their photography. But I think what happens and what changed was our accessibility to information. And so I think knowledge is kind of being confused with skill. We have tons of knowledge, but we don't have enough skill. And I think what happens is a photographer goes into it, watches Creative Live, maybe gets all my videos. They know everything, but in reality, they can't execute what they really know. Mm-hmm. And so then they go for 3, 4 years, 5 years, maybe they get, so-so response and go, well, maybe the grass is greener on the other side, or maybe they find that their passion is not as intense as it was. And plus, because of the competition now, it's really hard to kind of gain traction in the industry. So we start kind of combining maybe some of our passions to go a different path. But if somebody really loves photography and pursues it and practices it, like we go to college, right? We spend 4, 5, 6 years, me 7 years, but still dropping out of college, and to get that degree, right? Basically full time. If a person invested in themselves and said, I'm going to spend 4 years just learning how to shoot, I guarantee you they would have a pretty good chance at becoming a professional photographer. But no, we try to squeeze photography in between our job and so forth, and we can't give it the time that it really needs to develop the skill. We can get the knowledge now, that's easy, but we really need the skill.
Fantastic. That's great. Great advice for anybody who's listening in right now. It is hard work. It does take time. And sometimes you're going to stumble all over yourself, but it's about picking yourself up and going back and trying something different and trying again and again and again. I think this is lost on a lot of people who feel that, this is going to be their ticket to fame and fortune. Really people are, I heard just a few days ago, seriously, Scott, that there are photographers who are photographing weddings with an iPhone 5 or 6.
Oh yeah.
Yes, as an artist and creatively, it's kind of kind of unique perhaps, and kind of cool. But what is it really telling you about what's happening? Like what is it that you can or cannot do with that iPhone? Right.
I think that's very typical of what people try to do in the industry to take shortcuts. They look for some sort of gimmick angle. Right. It's like that with lighting too. Every year there's this new gimmicky lighting thing that comes out, and we all get enamored by it, and we all buy it, but then the next year we don't use it. And so, but really it comes down to understanding the basics and mastering that, and that's what we're missing in this industry. We need people that say, hey man, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to learn composition, lighting, posing, post-processing, and do it well, and spend 4 or 5 years dedicating myself to this, and you're going to be an amazing photographer.
Great advice. Scott, where can people find you online?
Basically, if you just go to scottrobertphotography.com, then you're going to get me there. I'm very active on Facebook. So if you just look me up, my personal page, Scott Robert Lim. Right. Now, I'm maxed out on my friends, but if you give me $1, I'll kick somebody off and add you. Just kidding. You can follow me on there. And but you can always follow me, but that's where I do all my posts about what I'm doing and everything. But unfortunately, I can't friend everybody.
I understand.
And I don't have time to post to the business, to the personal, to the I mean, come on! I just need one place.
Yep.
And that's
I feel the same way. Guys, if you got even a hint of how Scott is going to be at the webinar, man, you guys are gonna have a great time. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.